I know this might be a hot take, but I didn't like the ending of Vinland Saga Season 2. I'm aware that Season 2 as a whole has received mixed opinion from fans. At one point, people were literally calling it Farmland Saga. I actually thought that was funny, but despite how it might seem, that's not the reason I didn't like it. I actually understand and appreciate what the season is trying to say. It's the logical transition from what Season 1 culminated in and the message the author wanted to convey from the very beginning. So, it's only natural for the story to slow down in order for Thorfinn to reflect, understand, and figure things out. It's essential for his character development. Obviously, as a result, things become less flashy, intense, and action packed than the first season, and that's completely understandable. So, all that to say, that's not why I disliked the ending. One of the things I love about Finland is how incredibly immersive it is. It perfectly depicts what we imagine those times were like. Violence, harshness, seriousness of every situation. You never know who's going to die or how events will unfold. Of course, it's still a work of fiction, and in order to keep the audience engaged, there has to be some exaggeration here and there to heighten up the drama. But usually it never pulls you out of the story. That is, until the very end of season 2. At this point of the story, Canute decides to seize the farm where Thorfinn works in order to fund his wars. And of course, he claims it's all part of a greater plan to build his paradise. Thorfinn, surrounded by the king's army, decided to endure the assault just to get an audience with Canute. Eventually, he delivers his famous line, "I have no enemies." The issue isn't that Thorfinn refuses to fight. As he himself says, he wants to use a different method other than violence. Otherwise, it would defeat the purpose of why he's there in the first place. He came to talk, not to cause another massacre. No, my problem is with the execution. I can't help but feel that the moral of the story is forced onto the audience in a way that took me out of the moment. Especially when after Canute refuses him and asks what he would do about it, Thorfinn's answer was to simply run away. And somehow that was enough to make the king withdraw and change his mind after mobilizing an army, preparing for war, and potentially losing men. I mean, what? So you just need to talk Nojutsu your way through the king? That's it? Thorfinn's solution isn't enough. It doesn't work for me. If the answer is to run away, why would that matter to Canute? In fact, that's exactly what he wants. The farm for himself and you go somewhere else. Also, I'm pretty sure convincing the losing side to retreat would be easier than convincing the side with all the power to back down, if running away is an option for you. Some might say, well, the point was to confront the king's ideals. But I'm sorry, Thorfinn didn't really challenge Canute's ideology in any meaningful, logical way. I understand the core value behind Thorfinn's statement that no one truly has enemies, and I get the context in which that idea resonates. But in that moment it felt more like naivety or even defeatism. Maybe I'm being too picky by focusing so much on that scene. After all, it doesn't make Vinland a bad show, and not at all. But I wish Thorfinn had presented some kind of plan, something that would genuinely pressure or challenge Canute while still staying true to his beliefs and principles. The series has conditioned us to accept a world, especially in Season 1, where power determines truth and strength dictates outcomes. In that context, Thorfinn's message inherited from his father may be beautiful and inspiring, but without any concrete leverage to support it, it risks coming across as a deus ex machina rather than an earned resolution. What if the king had simply decided to kill Thorfinn and his friends? Then what? Would they still not be considered enemies? When people are desperate and everything falls apart, humans are capable of horrific things, and death isn't even the worst that can happen to someone. I won't lie, it saddens me a little. Vinland handled these themes so incredibly well in Season 1, but in my humble opinion, this particular moment could have been delivered better. That scene became so iconic while the series was airing. You would see edits everywhere, TikToks, reaction videos, people completely overwhelmed like they had just had the biggest realization of their lives, and very little to no criticism. If you disagree with me, feel free to share your thoughts and perspectives. I would genuinely love to read others' opinions. It would be a fun discussion. Take care.